watching the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And something quite amazing happened this month. I think by accident, Doctor Who magazine actually put out a reasonably good issue, an issue that actually got better as I read it, as opposed to went downhill. Normally I flick through it and go, oh yeah, that'll be a good story. I'll look at that and I read it. As boring as hell. So far, I've enjoyed pretty much everything I've read in this month's copy. So I don't know. Is it luck? Is it judgment? It's not judgment, mate. It's not judgment. It's certainly luck. But anyway, the reason I'm making this video is there's been a lot of I'll show you the cover, right, of the magazine, because it's good, right? Who was it? Anthony Lamb, I think, did the cover. He's now selling it as was it A2 or A3 print. That cover is gorgeous, right? Freaking gorgeous. I do love it. Anyway, do they have a version of it without the there you go, that's better. Look at that. You can see it with he's still got the horrible Jodie logo. What can I do? What can you do? But the cover looks awesome. If you buy the print, it doesn't have the the logo on it. I just really like that. What am I seeing it as like a blown up to a wall size? It's so cool. So close you can feel their fire. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about the Cushing Doctor Who movies, which I tell you, now I've watched them again in glorious 4K. Wow. Okay, those 4K transfers are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, really, genuinely, absolutely gorgeous. In Dalek Invasion of Earth, there's a glass painting shot of was it? I think the Dalek spaceship in the background. And it's just lovely. It's absolutely lovely. Sadly, everything other than the aesthetics is far like breathtakingly inferior to the TV version. Like really, genuinely breathtakingly inferior. The in terms of script, like Terry Nation wrote a really good, intelligent science fiction script, which is why we like Doctor Who. Really, I mean, there were smart scripts. These are not smart scripts, right? These are written by Milton Subotsky, which we're going to be talking about in a minute. But the story really is this. When they premiered these movies at the BFI, I believe, and man, when I lived in London many moons ago, when I was young, I used to love going to all these things, right? I remember I went to, what was the one? The Ice Warriors, when they found the Ice Warriors. The Ice Warriors, if you haven't seen it, it opens up this wonderful bit where the TARDIS materializes on its side on a mountain, on this like snowy mountain, and it like starts to slide down, right, as it materializes. I just love stuff like that. So I remember seeing that; it was great. But anyway, at the event, they had Milton Subotsky's children, who were born after these movies were made, and they revealed he had a script for a third unmade Doctor Who movie. So this is my third video done of that as more and more information came out. And now I feel in the best place possible to evaluate, would it be any good? Would it have been any good? I don't know. Well, I have a suspicion. This is what this video is about. I think the answer is yes and no and yes, right? Yes and no and yes, which by the time we get to the end of the video, maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. I'm intrigued to know what you think. So, like, share, subscribe, comment. Oh, by the way, if you can head over to Rumble and subscribe to me there. I'm actually doing pretty good on Rumble. I'm starting to build up a bit of traction, so that just really helps me out massively. But listen, I don't want to put you out. If you can like and share on YouTube, that's also fantastic. Thank you very much. I am genuinely appreciative. I don't think I can say it in a more convincing way, because I actually believe it, right? That's why I'm a terrible salesman, right? Especially I got a lot better at this as I got older. But a lot of the times I'm a freelancer, and I just don't understand why my clients don't do the work themselves. Why are they hiring me? They could do it for free. Yeah, that's what all these tools are set up for. They've got this thing called Canva. Okay. Pro tip, mate. Pro tip. If you want any flyers, designs, or stuff like that, go to canva.com and you'll get something for free which will be pretty darn good, right? But again, people pay me, and they pay me, I think, quite a lot of money to well, I do more overseeing, project management. But I'm all, yeah, that's actually something I can't believe I get paid for as well. But there you go. Praise the good Lord. So like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things are good. Sign up to my Substack, which is my email newsletter. At some point, YouTube will ban me. That's what YouTube does. They're not my biggest fan, even though they give me the platform. I'm quite happy about that. Still not completely on board with my what's the word? Well, look at my sacrilegious views. And to them, it is sacrilegious. Yeah, it's incredible. I was watching, I thumb through Facebook in the morning. I could normally go to the videos, and I always stop on, like, Bill Maher. Bill Maher's, I found, an interesting person. In that he's a bit of a dick, but he seems to be red-pilling himself quite somewhat right now into the insanity of the age. But they were talking about the 2020 election, or January. So, and the thing is, they're just so, for them it's settled science that all those things are exactly as the media narrative said they are at, right? It's completely settled science. And it's just weird to have that strong opinion, right? To have that strong opinion when you've been wrong about everything, right? Like so many, and like everything, literally everything. Which I think that's kind of coming to the fore now. In fact, wrong about so much, I don't know the world's going to be here by the time this video goes out. I just reading, like, China's threatening to shoot down Nancy Pelosi. Now, quite frankly, I think that's something we can all get together and hold hands about and say kumbaya. But apparently, not so good. Not so good. So, who knows what the future holds. But you do, because you live in the future, if indeed there is a future. Fine. Like, share, subscribe, comment, sign up my Substack, my email newsletter, which is how I think we got onto that subject. Sign up my Substack. Sign up to my paid Substack. I send out my comic books via there. Oh, on my Substack, I give out a bunch of stuff, right? I give out the like out-of-print comic strips, like the backup strips. Well, why aren't they doing a collection of those backup strips? Because they are just freaking gorgeous. I see the new collection is going to be the Dalek strips, which I have most of them, but now they're adding in Return of the Daleks, the first backup strip from Doctor Who magazine. And I'm like, am I going to have to buy that? I think I might. I think I might, right? I think that might have to happen. What can you do? What can you? I am a weak person. Let's just be clear, especially when it talks about the evil invading Pepperbox. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, comment, Substack. I think we covered everything. Let's talk about this third movie that never happened, right? And if it would have been any good. So, where to start? Well, let's talk about Milton Subotsky first, the person who essentially created these. Oh, look at this! That's it. Look at this gorgeous image of Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing is so good in these movies. Even though, as I said, the scripts are genuinely, really, really, really vastly inferior. Like, just vastly inferior to the televised version, both on Dalek Invasion of Earth and Doctor Who and the Daleks, right? But they're still lovely, right? And I think that's the answer to that question. That is the key to our question. They're still genuinely lovely. But the science of it just falls apart completely in the first one. Where, I mean, look, it's science fiction. It's not like a treatise by Oppenheimer. But in the first one, he's a grandfather who's built his time machine that's bigger on the inside, and Roy Castle accidentally sends him on their inaugural visit. But there's a bunch of stuff in it. It's just kind of stupid, right? And I wouldn't say that about the Daleks. The Daleks, I thought, I mean, the Terry Nation, the Dead Planet, right? There was a real tight, taut script that was really quite scary, right? It was fantastic. And then Dalek Invasion of Earth. The reason why I think it's inferior to the TV version is on the TV version they recreated, or they went out on location footage to all these, like, iconic places in London, right? And putting the Daleks in that area. Firstly, it was 65, right? So, or 64, I should say. So we're talking about how many years? 14, like 16 years since the end of 45, 20 years since the end of 19 years since the end of World War II, right? With the spectre of Nazi occupation of England being genuine, right? Absolutely genuine. People live with it with not knowing they're going to live, right? Like, kind of like today, I guess. But so putting the Daleks in those iconic places and putting their like markings on the lions around Trafalgar Square there, and had London Bridge, they're all fantastic. Or was it Tower Bridge? It was chilling, right? Chilling, and they don't do any of that in the movie, even though the movie looks so much better, right? So much better, but it loses that chilling factor. And this is all basically we find out. An expression of Milton Subotsky's worldview, which is, he just wanted to make. Is a nice picture of him. He just wanted to make fun movies, right? He just wanted to do something like fun movies that people enjoy, that will carry you through, right, and uplift you, and entertain you, right? So he was doing all these. Was it Port Mario? Is that how you pronounce them? Those horror movies with 3 stories in them, like 3 half-hour stories, which I found completely charming, and I do enjoy them a lot. And then he started, but he had a very good eye, because he had a very good eye for pop culture. He stumbled on Doctor Who. He said, "Wow, look, this is going to be on the big screen. People will love this," and he snapped up the rights. And it was his biggest success. Absolutely, his biggest success. Which he never did any better on, which was a bit sad, but still, I mean, just great movies, which he wrote himself, and you can tell his bumbling enthusiasm, right, all the way through it. So then we get to life goes on. He gets to the 70s, and his business falls apart. As is normal in the movie industry, he starts to pull it together by the 80s. He made that movie, The Monster Club, right? He should have got together with Canon Films. Canon was Israelis, Menachem Globus, right? So and Milton Subotsky was Jewish. I think that actually they could have made the deal that way, right? I've seen Milton Subotsky being very much in sync with the Canon Films, especially in the 80s. Which well, again, not the greatest of movies, but it's his kind of like fun, rip roaring, just highly entertaining nonsense. That's really what it is, highly entertaining nonsense. So his career really hit the rocks by the 80s, unfortunately. And he was trying to get movies made. So he had this movie called King Crab. It was a lurid horror novel people read in the age of Jaws. And he's like, oh, people will like that. He had a great eye. He was really annoyed that he wanted to option the rights for Batman before the Batman series came out in 1964, I think, or 65. He wanted to get it, but his partner wouldn't do it. And then he was pissed beyond pissed when Batman with Adam West came out, and it's exactly what he would have done, and was a huge success. So he was quite visionary. In addition to being not the most not as good a scriptwriter as Terry Nation, right? I think that's the nicest way of saying it. So yeah, he was quite visionary. So so then he remembered back to his one real standout success, which he's basically been living on ever since, Doctor Who. And I thought, well, if I put Doctor Who in this movie, it could happen, and it nearly did happen. It nearly did happen in many ways. But would it have been any good? Yes and no. No and yes is the answer. Yes and no. No and yes. So let's again. I've reported on this movie several times. This is the time we actually find out what was going into it. We because they gave the script to Doctor Who magazine. So they could do this article now. I think this is worthy of discussion. The greatest story never told. So yeah, okay. I was like, where do we begin? Right? Where do we begin? So it's all good. Speaking to Doctor Who fans in 1990, the year before he died, Milton Subotsky was still full of enthusiasm for a third Doctor Who feature. It's a giant monster film, and I call it Doctor Who's greatest adventure. Now, weirdly, I believe for some rights issue, it has to be the abbreviated version of Doctor. It's DR apostrophe, not DR full stop or period, depending what side of the Atlantic you're on. Not Doctor, right? Because it's got 2 doctors in it. And to solve the problem so big, you need 2 Time Lords. And again, yeah, you could just see it's I think he would have got on with Michael Grade, quite frankly. He's a very populist, schlocky entertainer, which I think that's a fair way of describing those movies. Again, I so recommend the 4K. It's just gorgeous. It is just gorgeous beyond gorgeous. Oh man, again. I talked about the glass painting shot, but the crowds are so clear. You can sort of see the brush strokes. I just love it, right? I really, really love it. It's a big film. I think it will cost up to £15 million to make. Is that? I guess that's a big budget for the time. Exactly what happened to the Great Adventure remains largely mysterious ever since. But thanks to Subotsky's son, they unearthed the screenplay he wrote around '85. Screenplay by Edward and Valerie Abrams. So they did the initial adaptation of the King Crab novel by Guy N. Smith. And adapted by Milton Subotsky. So we first get an idea what this movie would have been like straight away, right? The story begins when a young Doctor Who labelled DW1, okay, fine, lands his TARDIS on a British coastline. Not long after, another TARDIS appears with an older DW2 steps out. Each asks each other, "Who are you?" So yeah, exactly. It's got a lot of those kind of like clunky, cringy, kind of fun jokes in it, right? Who are you? Now, I think we're going to talk about it in a minute, but he envisioned the older Doctor being John Pertwee. That was his number 1 choice. If not, he would have gone for Tom Baker. Tom Baker would have probably said, would he have said no? Kind of like some money. He didn't like Peter Davison. He wasn't in the role long enough. He was only in the role for 20 minutes. So I'm like, I think a bit longer than that, mate, but okay. So, Doctor Who DW1 describes themselves as a Doctor Who's all action. So the younger one, while the DW counters that he's the one with the brain. So again, this isn't Robert Holmes territory, right? This isn't like the again. Go ahead and watch those movies. It's pretty much the same thing. They've been sent to Earth, but whom is a mystery. Some they just didn't want to answer, basically. The remains of a woman, the victim of the monstrous attack, are found on the beach. A secret research facility is located close by, guarded by the military, and as soon as the Doctor finds themselves helping to defend the base from a terrifying horde of invaders. Giant crabs, led by an even larger, apparently intelligent crustacean, the military have nicknamed King Crab. So, do you think there's a chance they would have brought Nicholas Courtney into this? I mean, I think either John Pertwee or Tom Baker will probably have suggested it. That would be my guess. We could have got Benton in it. We could have got Mike Yates in it. Because there's some throwaway stuff and nobody... Oh, they would have just recast those roles like they did with Ian, Barbara and Susan. Or Susie. She's called in the movies. I love those movies. They're so bad. They're not so bad. They're lovely, okay? Okay, so we'll return to Doctor Who's epic struggle, but the screenplay isn't all that Doctor Who magazine has been allowed to see. Paperwork in which the family archives enable us to trace the development of the script, which began as Subotsky's plan to make Guy N. Smith's pulpy 1976 Night of the Crabs. On July 2077, Subotsky bought the rights to adapt. So this is just before Star Wars came out. The book from the publisher's New England Library. So blah blah blah. They adapt it, and they retitled it King Crab. Okay. And he shopped it around to a number of partners. This little box out is Guy and Smith talking about it, saying like, yeah, they tried to make a movie, but it never happened. Never mind. So this will prove this will prove a frustrating process. Yeah, listen. By this time, his contacts, his juice in the industry was over, right? It was just totally over. which is kind of sad. But this is somebody trying to regain their earlier glory, right? That high point of their professional life, which was the Peter Cushing Doctor Who movies. So you can take that as you will. So where are we up to? So he eventually Sabosky even approached Walt Disney Company, writing to Frank Priest at Disney's Burbank HQ in November '79 with a very colourful pitch. Just as Alien was the ultimate in monster films. Not really, it was a reinvention of monster films. And you should have seen him because shopped it to Ridley Scott, but thank God he was busy making Blade Runner at the time. I think this could be the ultimate giant creature films. It couldn't. The few gruesome shots in the screenplay could easily be eliminated to make a PG feature. Yeah, so again, we're getting that Monster Club kind of feel to it. Fright Night, I think. No, Fright Night was a 15, wasn't it? I'm aging myself. I really don't remember. Made in England with the possible locations in Malta, the film will cost $8 million to make with a top cast. Really? Yeah, again. This reminds me of, who was it? Martin Landau, Commander Koenig, Space 1999. You ever seen the TV show Entourage? So Martin Landau it is Martin Landau, I think, plays an old Hollywood producer, right? And he had this thing where he would say to when he's like making a pitch, he would say something that he know the person who's pitching would absolutely love. Say, what if we could get Marlon Brando to play Doctor Who? Would you be interested in that? Something that they would have to say, I am interested in it, right? So he had no way of getting it done, right? This is the way producers work. On the Adventures of Baron Munchausen DVD, there's a great documentary where you have the Pythons. Who was it? Not Terry. Who was it? Eric Idle. Was it Eric Idle? I can't remember which one it was. Right. The one who could run fast in the in Baron Munchausen. It was he was like, yeah, Hollywood, they just all lie all the time, which they do, which they absolutely do. So 5 years later, Savasti still hadn't made significant progress on King Crab. September '84, he heard back from Jeffrey Roven, the chairman of U.S. investment company Iron and Quarry, that although Roven agreed the concept of a giant monster, any kind of giant monster, is a great one for movies, he didn't think King Crab is not going to work for him. Okay. It was apparently around this time Subotsky came up with the idea of inserting not one but two Time Lords, turning into another adventure entirely. Yeah, again, quite a clever idea, I think, quite frankly. Early in '84, he had reclaimed his best-known trading name, establishing a new company called Amicus Productions. Yeah, most of the '70s was spent in Court, right? And by this time, he bought a big house, and now he had to move to a smaller place. You know, you could see his his star was dwindling, right? So he made overtures to Christopher Crouch of BBC Enterprises of a new Subotsky-produced Doctor Who movie. Francis informed Crouch that the working title would be The Lost in Mouth Affair, an alternative title for King Crab, alluding to the financial interest from American film distributors, which there probably wasn't. Francis insisted, despite offering Enterprise just £1,000 for the option for the project, we will actually make the picture. Here, Dave, you can see it in capitals, right? We will actually make the picture. Yeah, again, it is all old-timey producer talk, right? I find it all quite charming. Rather tactfully, Francis clearly hadn't been keeping up with Doctor Who in recent years. He went on to say, we do not at this stage wish to be tied to a specific actor. And putting it factually, I love this. Peter Davidson, spelt wrong. Although, if you got the name from Doctor Who magazine from the cover, it's understandable. Only lasted a few months. Really? Francis believed Amicus would use the best actor at the time and highlight the fact the script was very unusual, incorporating two doctors set in England with a starting date for February '85. The fact that Subotsky believes that his father didn't actually rewrite King Crab until early '85, at which point it became Doctor Who's greatest adventure. On June 20, Zabotsky wrote to Edward Valerie Abram advising them of the title change, asking them for suggestions for tightening his Doctor Who version of the script. Zabotsky notes specify that Ron Kramer's theme music to Doctor Who series should be used in the film as the opening caption would read, Doctor Who is a Time Lord who travels through time and space in a machine that looks like an old British police box. So I guess this is kind of an opening scroll, right? Again, it all sounds awful, and it all sounds like I would like it, right? Would it be awful? Yes and no, no and yes. I think is the answer. Yes and no, no and yes. No other information about its origins or nature was given, nor was it explained how two doctors featured were actually the same person. And so the adventure begins. I've always thought, by the way, that it would have been a really interesting sci-fi movie if they made a medium budget, not huge, right? A medium budget version of Kinder with Paul McGann. I thought, like, maybe do that in the 2000s, because that's just a great, interesting, weird sci-fi tale that I think could be realized really interestingly on a big budget. And you could just have him turn up, and you don't really need to explain anything about him. He's a traveler. Just do what he normally says, right? So, arrested after landing in the vicinity of the mysterious facility, both doctors, young DW1 and older DW2, are placed in the custody of Captain Craven. Yeah, I reckon they could have, they would have changed some names. But successfully passed themselves as marine biologists. In King Crab scripts, the role was taken by Cliff and Pat, a young couple from Cambridge University. I guess Pat was a woman, maybe, or is it a gay couple? It doesn't sound like there'll be a gay couple. There you go, a bit of John Pertwee action for you. Huzzah! At which point, outside crabs emerge from the sea and advance on the base. Perhaps surprisingly, given Zabotsky's professed eagerness to make the Dalek movies more family-friendly fare, the action scenes here make no concession to the younger audience. Well, it's in the wake of Jaws, essentially, right? I think that's it. He wanted to do a Jaws that children could go to, right? Being a kid at that time, I related that. Like, if they had, like, Fright Night was like that, the Monster Club was like that. It was something on Vogue that kids could do, right? So I do absolutely hear that, man. Wouldn't it be, his life would have been so different if he did option Batman in the 60s. Those early beach scenes, for example, incorporated the discovery of a severed hand, motive familiar to several early Zabotsky's films, including Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, okay, and elsewhere the craft describes as grabbing and devouring the victim. Yeah, but you could have shot that differently, right? I very much like the series with John Pertwee, where most of the adventures were set on Earth, because again, I think they all could have been in it, because the producers tended to make the alien planet's adventures very stereotyped. Dude, have you seen Doctor Who and the Daleks? If you're talking about very bloody stereotyped, it sounds yeah. Yeah, that's a bit of an uncomfortable accusation, people in glass houses and all that. Where are we up to? Very separate, and will be the same story in different settings time and again. I don't really think so, but okay. The Greatest Adventure developed something of a flavour of a Third Doctor TV serial, when the Doctors allied themselves with various personnel to survive the initial crab invasion, including Colonel Good, Lieutenant Parker, an unnamed Staff Sergeant, scientist Hamish MacPhail, and Sir William Grisdell. Who's in overall charge of the project? Who's in overall? No, I read that wrong. I thought it was a period, not a comma. I said, who's in overall charge of the project? No, it's a comma. Who's in? General Grisdell, who's in general charge of the project. And amazingly, I'm not paid by the amount of times I say in general charge of the project, although it does sound like it now, doesn't it? When the Doctors meet Sir William, they decide they both can't introduce themselves as Doctor Who, so bizarrely, DW2 becomes Dr. Grugra. What? Even though he's never referred to that name again. What? Why Grugra? Okay, why can't it be Dr. John Smith? That's weird. Okay. Dr. Grugra. Again, would this have been awful? Yes and no. No and yes. It transpires the facility's researchers have been working on undersea radio and radar, the dream of scientists for years, according to McPhail, who goes on to explain normal radio frequencies are completely blocked underwater. That sounds reasonable. I assume they are. That means that how do submarines communicate? No, don't they have to like go above the surface to be able to communicate? What's that movie? Crimson Tide. Frickin' love Crimson Tide. Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman submarine movie. Really good. Is it? Yeah, it is Crimson Tide. Really love that movie. Much better than The Hunt for Red October, and they came out around the same time, right? See, now you're getting into the little couple of years of my life when I worked in a video store. Oh, I remember video stores; they were great. What was a place called Double Vision, which we had this incredible. Well, I say the owner had this incredible business model where they will get older tapes much cheaper, and you'll get them for a week, right? They basically did the Netflix model before Netflix. So yeah, so I always had those movies playing in the video store. It transpires that undersea radar by water. This means only at the extreme ends of the spectrum, either very low frequencies or extremely high frequency ones, were the only ones that might be used. Between them, the doctors and their allies realized that their research work has been emitting extremely high frequency, causing genetic changes in the crabs. DW1 goes diving to discover. It's okay. Look, the initial description of themselves. I'm all about strength and brawn, right? I'm a young and fighty one, and I'm a clevery, thinky one. Doctors. So yeah, this kind of works. So he's kind of a James Bondy figure now, going on this undersea adventure. Goes diving to discover the crabs in an underwater cave, but before doing so, he nearly gives away his identity to Earthman. He said, I've dived before on the planet. Why wouldn't you want to? Normally, the doctor just says who he is. The diving sequence followed by a number of gory actions. Okay, this just seems fun and crap. Again, like the Dalek movies. Since crabs have, I mean, when I say crap, I understand it's like a dagger in a lot of your hearts. And I do love them, but they are kind of crap, you know? They're not Citizen Kane. Okay, fine. So they followed a number of gory accidents since the crabs have developed a liking for human flesh. Well, that's only fair. I mean, most people like crab meat, don't they? Crab's awesome. One of the things I miss the most about being religious, I wasn't brought up religious. Like I really miss shellfish, but crab is awesome. I tell you, one time. Where were we? We were in San Francisco. Me and the family in San Francisco on the bay. We could smell the crab cakes being made. Oh my god! I was like, ugh. Yeah, can we just not be Jewish for like a couple of hours so I can have some because they smell so freaking awesome? Although then I saw a recipe. You can make really good crab cakes using nori, using seaweed. I'm like, really? I really got to look into that. The diving sequence as far as gory. Okay, fine. Human flesh. In quick succession, they confront the military on the beach, head inland and massacre a party in a farmhouse, and kill Griesdale on his way to London. Boarding a submarine, the doctor and friends track the crabs using a device invented by McPhail. DW2, that's the John Pertwee one, realized that both a submarine and a fishing boat that had been attacked earlier were fitted with ultrasonic echo chamber, and therefore concludes that the crabs communicate through ultrasonics, which the young Doctor Who DW1 claims to be able to hear. The solution to the problem proves to be a combination of technology and military might. Again, so explaining the need for the two doctors using modified ultrasonic generators based on McPhail's research. The army, assisted by John Pertwee, launches a final attack on the crabs, during which Parker and McPhail are killed. The ultrasonic dives drive the crabs insane. That doesn't work out well. Leaving them. Honestly, why didn't Chris Chibnall just take the script and make it? Anything would have been better than what stuff he's done. Because he would have made it crap. That's why. I'm glad I thought that one through. The ultrasonics drive the crabs insane, leaving them vulnerable to airstrikes. Well, I think they would have been more vulnerable to mines, wouldn't they? Aren't they softer underneath? I don't know. Leaving them vulnerable to airstrikes and land assault in what would have been clearly as the special effects highlight of the film. Yeah, you can imagine that'll be all in the trailer, right? Wielding a harpoon, the young doctor confronts King Crab, the last mutation left alive in his underwater lair, and narrowly escapes with his life. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like silly holiday fare, right? It really does. Sounds like silly holiday fare. I remember... Would have been the early 80s. We were on I was with my parents. We were on holiday in Brighton, I think, maybe. And I went. There was a Saturday morning cinema. Which it was Doctor Who and the Daleks, or was it Empire Strikes Back? So it would have been 81, 82, around there. And I remember you going to see Doctor Who and the Daleks, and then I poked my head in Empire Strikes Back. I've already seen it like several times, just as Darth Vader has his helmet put back on. But it would have been that kind of movie, right? It would have been that kind of fun, holiday time, seaside affair that is just glitzy and doesn't overtax your imagination. Overtax your intellect, right? It certainly didn't overtax Zabotsky's. In a brief epilogue, the doctors say farewell to each other. John Pertwee muses, it needed two of it. I wish I could do his voice. It needed two of us, didn't it? To know. To which DW1 replies, "Oh, I don't know," suggesting that he could have handled the situation on his own. After a brief comedy routine in which the doctors mistake each other's TARDIS for their own, they dematerialize. Very much like the way the Daleks movies ended, like the Roy Castle seeing the Roman legion invade the TARDIS. Oh, so bad. Okay, at the end of Doctor and the Daleks, they go back to 1960s, I think. They end up in the wrong place. Roy Castle opens the doors, and you see the Roman legion walk through. Only problem is, the Roman legion are like up here, right? Their heads are like way up here, and Roy Castle's down here. Like, did the TARDIS materialize buried it? It just didn't work at all. And then he runs and he like tries to get the TARDIS going again. We gotta run! Again, very cringe, jokey stuff that Subotsky would do, right? This is a Subotsky picture. Writing to potential investor Andreas Zambatas on 24th of June 85, Subotsky explained that he met with the BBC and made a bid for the film rights to the Doctor Who character. The Greatest Adventure script was one of four properties that Milton offered to the British distributor Thorny EMI. But on March 31st of October, all four were rejected by the company's acquisitions executive, Adrian Hodges. Yeah, listen, his time in the industry, it was 6 years before his death, his time in the industry was over, right? It's kind of... The sadness of it isn't that we didn't get this fun, stupid story, right? The sadness is that this is this guy's life wrapping up. Intriguingly, Thorny EMI's director of production at the time was Doctor Who's founding producer Verity Lambert, who worked with Zabotsky's former associate John Dark on the 83 Slay Ground. By July 86, he was still hedging his bets with two versions of the script, the latter being an American producer. In a letter to American producer Gabriel Katska, he indicated that the Dockless version was now called Creatures from Below, and suggested Katska read either or both versions of the giant creature screenplay. Neither were made. Recalling the failure of Night of the Crabs adaptation 2015 industry on the DLS Reviews blog, Guy N. Smith, who died in 2020, said, "I guess it fell by the wayside because the film company wanted to make it as a blockbuster rather than a B movie." That's what this would have been. This would have been a B movie, right? Which, fine. And it would have cost mega money. On TV, Doctor Who ground to a halt, but Subotsky maintained an interest. "I would love to produce a Doctor Who animation series." I'd love to be a Doctor Who animation series. He told DWB, Doctor Who Bulletin. "I'm sure it would be a big hit. I'm surprised that nobody's done it yet." That's actually, I kind of hear it, mate. I do kind of hear it. In a letter dated 25th January 1991, almost 2 years after the program ceased production, he wrote to the BBC inquiring after the film rights to the character, citing his previous success with the two Dalek films. He died on June 27th that year. His dream of third Doctor Who movie, sadly unrealized. So I don't know. Our Big Finish going to make a version of this. Who knows, right? Over here we see him not liking John Nathan Turner Doctor Who at all. Milton Bosley wanted a former TV Doctor to play Doctor Who 2. I would have used John Pertwee or Tom Baker for the older Doctor, and anyone good enough can play the younger one. He didn't like successors. Peter Davison portrayal was very wishy-washy and labeled Colin Baker's dreadful in the whole characterization. It's weird. The theme of this is going through stuff which I absolutely adore and is not very well, and is very flawed, which is the season 22 Blu-ray. Yeah, his characterization, of the Doctor was really. I don't think it was his fault at all. I think it was a lack of direction from both JNT and Eric Saywood, and like the rather nasty, cynical nature of the 80s, right, where people like to snipe at each other. That was how you showed affection of some way. So there was anybody guess who DW1 would be? So in this they thought it might be Sting, which is why I put the Sting on the thumbnail. I got the picture from The Bride, which I like. I remember liking that movie. I wonder how good it will be now. Did they use the same one? Yeah, this I think is from The Bride, which is all about the Bride of Frankenstein. So wait. So he did some pop music. It's trad, Dad, aka Ring a Ding, the rhythm. What year was that? It felt very secure in that he had always had a tendency to lean back on that kind of thing. Dalek Movers director Gordon Fleming remembered in '91, hence the casting of Roy Castle and Bernard Crimmins in those films, arguably the appearance of the Scotch New Wave singer B.A. Robertson, plus bands including Pretty Things in '81's The Monster Club. Followed in such as so Subotsky might have used a 1980s pop singer turned actor, perhaps sounded like Sting, then in his early 30s, whose feature film career included the 1985's Dune and Frankenstein feature The Bride. That's a fair bet, right? That's a fair bet. I'm not, by the way. He did, if you ever heard him talking about him playing, was it Fade in Dune, David Lynch talked him into wearing these like flying Y fronts when he comes out with this steam shower in the scene, which he wanted to do naked, right? He thought to do naked, and he's like, no, you got to use these big wild flying Y fronts. So then he says, after that, I just played it like Danny LaRue with a knife. So that's fair enough. I think it could have been him. With the gore and violence dialed down, Doctor Who's Great Adventure could have appealed to the same audience that flocked to see Subotsky's adaptation of Edgar Rice's Burroughs, the Land That Time Forgot, and at the Earth's Core. Yeah, man, they were great movies. Oh man, they were great movies. Doug McClure. Oh, now I want to go and watch those again. But they were crap and they were lovely, right? They were crap and they were lovely. But I do think the 80s, the time for that type of movie had moved on, right? Fundamentally innocent monster movies full of thrilling set pieces, a little old-fashioned perhaps, but Subotsky knew what he was doing. You're absolutely right in saying that my productions are naive, Subotsky said in a letter to The Guardian on 20th of August 1980, written after Clive James TV reviewer for its sister paper The Observer criticized Subotsky's 1980 miniseries The Martian Chronicles. He did The Martian Chronicles? I love The Martian Chronicles. Terrible special effects. And it's much smarter than anything else he's done. Really? He did The Martian Chronicles? I'm really genuinely surprised, right? I am naive emotionally. I'm not, although not intellectually. And sometimes my Doctor Who and Edgar Rice Burroughs feature films can be feature films. Naivety can be a virtue. Yes! Now that's a good way to end this, right? Naivety could be a virtue. And it was. It really, really was. Naivety was a virtue. I do agree with that. So look at the cover. Absolutely love it. Go and find Anthony Lamb. I guess he's on Twitter, and buy yourself a print of this. This is lovely. Absolutely love it. And I like the way that Doctor Who magazine is allowing him to sell copies. Assuming that they are. So there you go. Would Doctor Who's Crazy Adventure been crap? Yes and no. No and yes. Yes and no, no and yes. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.